Hello, this is Venus V. Welcome to the Venus Hour UPSC. Before going into the today's topic, I just want you to know that yesterday's session of the Parliament, that is the special session of the Parliament, would happen in the new Parliament. So that means the special session of the Parliament was shifted to the new Parliament House, and the old Parliament House, which you all know that is Samvidhan Sadan, was now no more a discussion forum of Parliament. So, cheering for the new Parliament House and the discussions over there, we move to the today's topic. The present government, that is the Narendra Modi's government, proposes the Women Reservation Bill. Many of you might have the idea about this Women Reservation Bill, which proposes for the reservation of women nearly for 33% of the seats in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. That is nearly one third of the seats to be reserved to the women. And along with that, there is also provision for the reservation of one third of the seats for women in the SC and ST categories also. But there is no such provision for OBC categories, other backward classes. So oppositions, in this case oppositions are claiming that it is injustice for the women in other backward classes where there is no reservation for them. So we will discuss the pros and cons of the bill, and it is actually stuck down from so many years. So hope this year this bill passes. Before that, we will discuss in more detail about the bill. So the Union Cabinet, which was led by the Prime Minister, approved this women reservation, the Constitution of 108th Amendment Bill 2008 to provide the reservation for women in Parliament and state assemblies. So, considering the historical background of the bill, we have to go back to the 1955 when a government appointed a committee recommending that 10% of state seats in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly should be reserved for the women. In that case, it appointed a committee, but it was not gained that much momentum at that time. In 1980s, the real momentum for the women reservation for reservations were gained some momentum in 1980s, and the National Perspective Plan for Women in 1988, which recommended that 30% of seats in all elected bodies should be reserved for women. So the idea of this exact one third part of the seats to be reserved to the women was started from the idea of 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, as you all know, which has taken place in 1993, which stated that one third of sarpanch positions in the Gram Panchayat should be reserved to women, and which was also happening and taking place. And in 1996, this 81st Constitutional Amendment Bill, the bill was then reintroduced in 1998, 1999, and again in 2008. And in 2008 and 10, both the years, it was referred to a standing committee, and it was also passed in Rajya Sabha and transmitted finally to Lok Sabha. However, bill lapsed with the 15th Lok Sabha. Again, it was not reintroduced again since then, and again this year it was reintroduced. Let's discuss about some of the key features of the bill. As you all know that it recommends the 33% of reservation for women in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. So out of all the seats reserved for the SC and ST, in that one third will be reserved for the within reserved, one third will be reserved for the women. These reservation constituencies are there now. These will be these will be constituted in the rotation form. So every year, every time, every election time, it will be different constituencies, not same constituencies, will be reserved for women. So it is in rotation form. And this ceased to exist till at least 15 years from the amendment come into the commencement. Since then, 15 years, this reservation will stand. Do you all think that there is a need for this reservation for women in the Lok Sabha or legislation making process? Of course, there is a need because women are very much underrepresented in the political system or political aspect, especially in India. And the reasons are so many, like traditional constraints in India, if you take for the participation of women in the politics, traditional constraints in India, and the patriarchal values of India and their norms and lack of family support and lack of education and awareness, and they are economically dependent on the family or the males, and criminalization in politics and the less representation of women in the politics. Like that, there are so many points you can take for to prove that this bill is necessary in the present situation we are. Why I am saying that the women are underrepresented in the political arena? So, example, if we take currently, just nearly I think 14% of Lok Sabha MPs are women, and merely 11% of in Rajya Sabha. That is in Lok Sabha, it is nearly 82 or 72 to 82. If this bill come into the action, it will be raised to 181, which is definitely a one-time growth. Even if we take the global comparison or the situations in around the globe, considering our first Lok Sabha session to till now, the increase in the number of women MPs was very less compared to other countries. If we take the data from our PRS, Public Policy Research Report, there are so many countries which are ahead of India in this matter. For example, if we take Rwanda, 61%, South Africa, 43%, even Bangladesh is 21%, which are still ahead of India in the representation of women in the political arena. And even India ranks 144 out of 193 countries in the representation of women in parliament, which is as per the report of Inter-Parliamentary Union report. Inter-Parliamentary Union's latest report it says that India ranks 144 out of 193 countries, which is very, very bad. There is definitely a need to bridge this gender gap, which came from several social constraints, patriarchal society ideologies, and even so many international reports suggest that India's growth was a lot hampered by this huge breadth of the gender gap and limited female participation in the male dominated institutions and social strata. If we even take the concept of gender sensitization in lawmaking, and American reports say that American Economic Association, its report says that the women, which has highest share in the parliament or lawmaking policy, if they have the highest share, is more likely to pass or implement the gender sensitive laws. So, if the parliament or lawmaking process involve the women's share, it is more likely to pass the gender sensitive laws very easily. There are some positive impacts also by this kind of representation which was proved in this world. Example, a 2010 study by Harvard Kennedy School, it shows that female representation in village councils increased the participation and its responsiveness to concerns such as drinking water, infrastructure, sanitization, and even roads. We will talk about some global examples which prove the women leadership and women's involvement in the policy making has proven a hit. For example, if we take the Scandinavian countries, which have implemented the policies and governance structures which support the gender equality and women's empowerment, which also includes women's representation in political and leadership positions also. Norway also implemented this quota system in 2003, which required 40%, nearly 40% of seats on corporate boards to be occupied by the women. And even so many countries which were led by women show that to have the best policies and governance practices. Even if we take the Rwanda, a Central African nation which has suffered from many things from past like genocide and etc., is predominantly getting hailed by the leadership which comprises a woman, which has also resulted in key social reforms in that country, which proves that women participation in the leadership leads to more progress in the nation. So it's time we has to discuss what are the provisions women political empowerment are present in our Indian constitution, which is also very important. So there are nearly two articles which deals about this particular concept in our constitution. First, let's look after the Article 15, third clause, which says that the state is empowered to make special provisions, legislative or otherwise, to secure women's socio-political advancement. It says that the state is empowered to make some special provisions, legislative or any other provisions, which can secure the women's socio and political advancement. And coming to the Article 325, which guarantees equal rights for both the genders and entitles women to enjoy economic, social, cultural, and political rights on an equal footing with men. So now let's discuss about some pros and cons of the bill. What can be the pros? So if the women participate, they can easily can deal with the provisions such as abuse, discrimination and inequality, and even it helps us in promoting the gender equality. As many other countries proved, the human development indicators were more good in the women participated countries in political process. So it is also very high chances for the women human development indicators rise or sustainable progress in these human development indicators, with heavily relies on the women political participation. So generally, when a democracy, when a representative political system is happening or functional democracy, it requires participation from all segments of the society. So it helps the democracy more strong in the nation. And coming to the cons of the bill or arguments which are happening against the bill. So they're saying that it would perpetuate the unequal status of the women, since they would not be pursued to competing on the merit. And this reservation, whatever is there, it only benefits the privileged women and worsens the situation of marginalized and unprivileged groups. So the rotation system, what is there, every constituency, it can reduce the incentive of MP to work for their constituency. So the bonding between the constituency and MP may reduce. And it can also become the ineligible to seek re-election from the same constituency. And this reservation may lead to a proxy culture, as you all know that might be the situation where elected women lack real power and act behalf of the male decision makers. And they are also saying that the reserving legislative positions for women may result in qualified men to lose out their positions. The Hindi name of this bill is Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. So coming to the way forward, according to me, balancing or seeing the weightage of both pros and cons, the pros weightage is very more. So passing this bill and getting it into the action might help India in many stances, from bridging the gender gap and developing its human development index, and dividing its gender parity, or lessening its gender bridge gap between both genders, and strengthening its values in the democracy. In all the cases, it would help India to do better progress and sustainable development in the nation. I think we have discussed in detail about the bill, and in this week, if you are all interested, we will discuss about the GS 1 and 2 3 this year main paper, along with the essay paper too. And thank you for watching the whole video. And if you want more such videos regarding UPSC or general studies, current affairs, or some motivational quotes, please do follow Venus Have UPSC, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Please press on the bell icon to get notifications on uploading my videos whenever I upload my videos, so that they can reach you. Thank you very much. Signing off.